Hi, Diego. Jeff Allen here. I saw your post about just a couple of days ago, and about the on LinkedIn about changing organizations and how you know using machine translation and post editing is different today compared to what it was 10 years ago. And and it got me thinking a little bit. Sorry, I got a little cough. I'm still not, my bronchitis is still hanging on a little bit. Um, I, I think back 30 years. This is 3 decades ago. Getting close to 3 decades ago that I worked at Caterpillar. I was hired on at Caterpillar as my first job in this field of automated translation and post editing. And and I'd done language teaching before, not just university but executives, and for a few years, and in graduate business school. So I'd seen a lot of things, the quality topic, and before even coming in this field. And I taught, and I just actually finished a video about language teaching grading, which I kind of invented this way of doing it 30 years ago, and how I think it can be used for for machine translation evaluation and assessment, or what do you want to call that? And I just put it in my new book, and I got a new book, video book out on quality evaluation, all that. So it's up on my YouTube channel, so there too, all for free. But sorry, I get this cough, but it's still there. And through 3 decades ago, I mean, you mentioned here that 10 years ago that the business goals were clear. It was reduce costs, reduce turnaround times, and without having an impact on quality. And then the whole issue was really the battle between man and machine, and that was the hurdle. And 3 decades ago, in the 1990s, it was actually kind of funny because at Caterpillar, the quality thing was we need to have quality, right? Because these are expensive machines. All these machines cost $1 million or more. And then I actually discovered, I mean, there was nothing really said about the whole thing, but I actually discovered a few years later that in 1991, in issue 5 of Multilingual magazine, called Multilingual Computing and Technology back then, right? But in issue 5, the editor sent me in the early 2000s the copy of that article from Caterpillar in Carnegie Mellon, which said that the goal was no post editing. I said, wow. Now that's not what we were told when I came on the project in 1995, because I think it was realized by that time it wasn't possible, right? So in 1995, I came in January to be the trainer of the technical writers, all the technical writers, and the trainer of the translators for the technical workflows, and be the French linguist on site, working at the Carnegie Mellon University. And and by that time, I think that it was understood that post editing was kind of a non-negotiable. It was never stated, but that's what it ended up being during that first year of working on it. And but it was funny during that time because there were some field studies, or at least some attempts to get some customer feedback about the project. So I'm sitting here at McDonald's right now, I get a coffee, so I got some background noise, but that gets good lighting here. So the funny thing was that back then, the whole concept of having the translation post editing and all that, the quality level with the end user, well, not the end user, well, the end user repair people, right? Because we're doing user manuals and repair manuals, and that with the shops in Europe, right? Because that's what we're doing. This is for the European Union to be able to deliver the machines here to Europe. That the goal was to not have an English, right? Anything is better than English. So that's what the field was telling us. Anything's better than English. So that we went on that premise of just saying that the whole goal was to get as close as we could, but not aim for perfection. Was to aim for lots of languages and to get as many languages as possible. So that whole quality thing has actually always been kind of this funny, you know, negotiation, and that the whole that original article in 1991 in issue 5, multilingual, never realized, never got, never ended up getting realized. And even a few years later, it wasn't even promoted anymore. It was kind of given that we'd have to work with man and machine, period. By the time I came on and we were implementing the tool in production or pilot and then production, and then I was working with all the writers and the translators on a daily basis to teach them how to do all this stuff right. And I'm learning this in the same time, right? It was a great job. The So that was the whole, and that period of time we had the battle of, there was the battle of the man and machine, but it really wasn't, because there was like, there's no choice, folks. This is what we're going to do. There wasn't really a battle. It's just like, we will do this. And they had been using translation memory, the TM tool, IBM's TM2, for a few years before that. And then we built our own Caterpillar TM tool, which I've mentioned in other videos before, but because we couldn't find any of the translation memory tools on the market at that time that would be able to work all the tags and stuff we were dealing with. SGMO kind of didn't work, so we had to build our own. But the whole thing from that point on was, it was, and I remember that when I sat down, I documented 7 workflows. Okay, 7 different workflows. And we actually tried to reduce that as much as possible into kind of converged workflows to kind of simplify things. But we still had all those workflows, right? And I was actually one of the workflow trainers on some of the tagging stuff of the workflow as well. So, but then, then you said here, to one of the things, what your approaches you've taken is always don't take the hardest thing first. And I've always tried to do that. You always got to know it all. You got to know everything. You got to know all the hard ones and the easy ones. But then you got to focus on. And I remember back then, it was kind of the training how to do that was to pick the easiest stuff first. Pick the small chocolate bars and get those to people who want to eat them first, right? And work on those little nuggets, and then work on the harder stuff later. And I still do that, a lot of that today, a lot of that to my current job. So, knowing that there are more complex things we need to work on, but we're going to deal with the hardest cases after we got through a few of quick wins. But the whole thing was aligning all this, and like, I totally agree with you. Sorry, I got this ongoing cough. Sometimes it disappears for several hours. Then the thing is, technology is important. You said that there's the whole seamless integration into one platform. Yeah, consumes everything, and good performance and data extraction from every project. Ha. Right? I'll just say that, when I came, I've been working in this field, and I've been working in telecom too, for telecom codes, network optimization, and other things too. And when I came to work for my current company, right? And I didn't come here to work for this translation stuff. I came to work on business analytics and stuff. And after about 4 or 5 years, I was transferred over to kind of work on this stuff. I wanted to come back and work on this stuff. But when I got here, and I finally came into working on this, I learned that there's another ecosystem. There is another universe. And that's this company on how to access data. When you got 2,000 applications, and a lot are acquisitions and a lot are not, the integration is it's very complex. I mean, way beyond what I've seen before this. And I've worked on some telecom, the wireless cellular mobile telecom and servers and antennas. It's not the simplest thing. And I worked on that for 5 years. And there's only 100 providers in the world, right? So 100 operators. So you don't really have a lot of options. And I came here and it's like, wow, this is another world. So complexity. I mean, I live in the flood of complexity, and I'm always searching on ways to simplify it. And so this whole thing that you're saying about the technology stacks and all that is really true. And the whole thing is getting interoperability, right? We've all been preaching this for 2, 3 decades, right? So and then you mentioned about so I totally agree with that. That is really, it's really the key thing. One of the key things, right? Technology. And I actually go watch my videos on, I actually gave them the top tech, the SE, Society for Automotive Engineering Top Tech Amsterdam in December of 1999. Early December. Might have been the end of November. I think it was early December. Um, I gave a talk on that, and I actually repeated the slides about that in my University Gdansk talk in October 2014. October 2014, which is in my videos, right? So it's in my video channel. Up there, pretty easy to find. Um, and in the University Gdansk thing, I mentioned that top tech about technology, vertical technology, the whole thing, vertical axis of technology, and the horizontal axes of the of needing to have horizontal streams of communication, man, human, human, computer, computer, machine, machine, and human computer interaction. Those are the three streams, and I talk about that. Go watch that because I actually talk about this. I talk about the vertical axis and the horizontal axes and how they converge. And I'll talk about that. Go look at that University Gdansk thing on demystifying MT. But I talk about that, which I think addresses some of the things you're talking about here. Um, and then processes are key, and the whole thing of how to do it. I work for a company that's based on processes in a culture, in the headquarters in the culture that is based on process-oriented things, right? I talk about in my book on YouTube about working with the Germans. So very process-oriented culture, and for good reasons, as they are. Not everybody is, for good reasons too. But I think that the final point you mentioned, I just want to kind of finish up on this with my last coughs. Not my last coughs. I will continue coughing onward. But people are always the key, and I really do agree with you that. Um, I have been saying for the past 3 decades, in everything that I've done, that automated translation is not by itself unless you're doing it for certain very specific purposes where you only want to automate and that's it. Those are very specific and might only be for a draft version of something for some internal use. I mean, very limited reasons. But the majority of it is going to be post-edited to a certain point. Low, minimum, rapid, whatever you want to call this. Up to medium to whatever high, what do you want to call all these? They're different levels. I've done all levels. I even combine them to scale them up more as you get more quality. Getting you to a higher level of approximation to what the people want. In the end, but but the whole thing is the key is you're always gonna have people in the loop. And those jobs may change, the skills may change, the skill sets may change. I've mentioned a lot over time about how, when we introduce all the barcodes, there's little barcodes scanning things on all the products, right? All little barcodes. I don't have this thing on this one here. I just pulled that, but they didn't have a barcode here, but yeah, barcodes. It didn't get rid of people. It just shifted the jobs around. So you didn't have as many people at the cash registers. You had more people out in the aisles doing things in stock and inventory and creating the barcode systems and the computer systems down, the skateboards looking for the numbers, So it displaced the workforce, and changed it and created other skill sets. So the whole thing here is that the retraining and new upskilling and for other purposes, and how you integrate technology is going to create more skill sets. It's going to create different skill sets. And they're going to have to train people how to do that, and you're going to have to optimize that. And then when you finally you can optimize it more, you're going to have to create more processes with more skills, and that's it. So it's an ongoing process. And the whole thing is that This always involves people. It never is totally automated. And if you really think about it, it kind of goes back to Charlie Chaplin, Modern Times. I'm pretty sure the movie. You know, they introduced the feeding robot, right, on the assembly line, and the feeding robot was needed because Charlie needed to eat, right? They needed to feed the workers, and the robot was there to help him eat. It didn't always help him eat very well, right? When you watch the film, you die laughing. But that whole thing is our kind of our trek and journey in life is in doing technology development, right? And one of the things I really reproach this field, but all fields, in doing for the past, let's say 5 decades of doing any technology stuff, computer stuff, is we've been selling people the idea of what's in the movies of science fiction, which doesn't exist, right? Science fiction doesn't exist. It's science fiction. But people over the years have been grown accustomed to watching more movies and believing we have it today. And we don't. Now we're aiming for science fiction. We're aiming for Isaac Asimov stuff. We're aiming for Robert Heinlein stuff. We're aiming for Arthur C. Clarke stuff, right? We're aiming for George Lucas stuff, right? We're aiming for Marvel Comics and DC Comics. We're aiming for that. But but we're not really there yet because we haven't reached the be able to travel at the speed of light yet, right? So we're not quite there. We haven't been able to go over the speed of light to actually know if what Arthur C. Clarke said and what Einstein said is true. We don't know. Now we can send our nuclear reactors and things. We can play with fission and fusion and kind of deal with speed of light of, I don't know if it's neutrons or protons what we're sending. I don't remember. I don't work in nuclear stuff. All I remember is what I have read, right? But all this stuff is we don't know. And so all we can do is continue to work with our complex human mind, which is better than anything else. And everybody's mind is better. It's just that we want to, not everybody, we need to work with all people with all kinds of different skill sets. And so we want to get the machine to do the processes that are easy to do and repetitive. And the stuff that's hard to repeat, we want to have the human beings working on it, right? So, now this is important. And like you said here at the end, early adopters, get your early adopters. It's finding them is a tough thing, convincing them, and then getting them to buy into it. And I think I was one of those early adopters, right? Lori Thicke said I was one of the early adopters of this whole thing, and that I've been kind of I've been the replicator, the multiplication effect of this thing, right? But there have been hurdles throughout the decades, and I do remember people that and I know that have not wanted me to go up on stage and to show that I could do machine translation, dictionary building, and implement dictionary building with post editing and do it faster. They've not wanted me on stage to show this, right? Because it was so fast. I said I could get it to the same level of quality or an acceptable level of quality and then just post edit up and be done in a fraction of the time it would take to do human translation. And there have been people that did not want me coming on stage to do that. I will not name those people. Okay, so, because I think they were scared that I could actually really do it. And I have offered that opportunity several times. And if people want me to do it, I'll do it again today. So I just got to make sure that I have a Windows that works with the software that can still do the dictionaries, right? I could do it today. Just got to make sure it works under Windows 10 or whatever we're under today, right? So, but all this is about man and machine and making sure that they work together and they work in a symbiotic way. And it's training people to how to do it. And it's a big challenge. And I guess that's what our careers are about, right? So, thank you, Diego. Thanks for the inspiring post to talk about, give some feedback about too, and add to the anecdotes of this, how challenging it is. Thanks so much and have a great day.